Hello everyone, welcome to yet another session on the Merit Shine channel, and it's a delight to be in front of all of you. Incidentally, this will be my last session for the year 2021. Of course, it has been a year which has been forgettable for many of us. I mean, इससे ज़्यादा बुरा साल कई लोगों के लिए हो नहीं सकता था. For some of you, it would have still have been a great year, and for some of you, it would have been a moderate year, right? But before we start the session, I wanted to just give you the insights of a very famous gentleman, Master Oogway of Kung Fu Panda fame, and what he said was something which is absolutely true, especially in the context of coming to an end of any year, right? Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, we don't know kya hone wala hai. But today is a gift, and that is why it is called a present. Right? It's a present indeed, right? So, इस साल जो भी हुआ, hit the refresh button. चाहे अच्छा हुआ हो या बुरा हुआ हो, whether good happened or bad happened, just hit the refresh button, hit refresh, start afresh in 2022. That is starting from tomorrow. It's going to be a fabulous year for you, and you're going to crack any exam that's going to come your way. Just remember this, today is a gift and it has to be treated as a present. Forget about the past, whether good or bad. Forget about any anticipation of the future, whether good or bad. Today is what we will make the most of, right? So the expectation is that 2022 is going to be a fabulous year for each and every one of you. Now that has been said, let's move on to the session for today. The concentration today is going to be another rapid fire, but this time for the month of December. 100 questions in as little a time as possible. And we're going to look at the top 100 news for the month of December 2021. Again, this is for the bank PO mains exams, focusing on SBI and IBPS PO. Of course, it's relevant for all the exams which basically have general awareness, banking awareness, or financial awareness as the key segment, right? So 100 questions and trying to solve it in as quick a time. And as always, I'll keep reiterating that stay with me throughout the session, end तक बने रहिए, because बीच में एक मिनट भी कहीं इधर उधर चले गए तो एक क्वेश्चन हो सकता है आपका मिस ही हो जाए, right? So stay on till the end. That's going to be very important. As I keep reiterating, post your scores in the comment section so that you have a track of how much you've scored, and it'll also give you the confidence booster that is required. And the second aspect, of course, is look at the pace which is convenient for you. If you're happy with the speed, continue with the speed itself. If you can accommodate more speed, then watch this video at 1.5x or even 2x, because time is of essence right now. So obviously, if you can accommodate more speed, then definitely watch it at a faster pace. But the most important thing is watch it completely, because it's going to add a lot of value to you, right? So with that having said, let's quickly dive into the session for today. And here we go. Right, so let's kickstart the session with the first question for the day. Recently, NSO and basically part of the MOSPI, which is the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, launched the 10th quarterly bulletin, Jan to March 2021, for the Periodic Labour Force Survey, PLFS. So according to PLFS, female participation in the labour force was at what percentage for the, fourth quarter of FY 2021. So that number is definitely, if I remember correctly, it's towards a first half of 20. That is what I remember. So I think the answer has to be 21.2. which is definitely correct. So this is basically a 21.2% in Jan to March 21. This is lower than the 21.9% in the same quarter for the previous year. So it's gone down, and it was 20.6% in the October to December quarter. So from that sense, it's slightly better. Obviously, the male participation is much higher on a range of 73% approximately. Okay, moving on to question number 2. RBI basically released its annual report on the state finances, a study of budgets of 2021-2022 on the theme Coping with the Pandemic, a third tier dimension. Which of the following has to be addressed? Now, the report states that the combined debt to GDP ratio of the states is expected to remain at 31% by end of March 2022, which is obviously a lot higher and worryingly higher than the target of 20% that is to be achieved by FY 22-23. So that is a number which is not very rosy. For 2021-2022, the states have budgeted the consolidated gross fiscal deficit to GDP ratio at 3.3%. If I remember correctly, I think this is on a slightly higher side. So obviously, this is marking an improvement from the 4.7% in the revised estimates for 2020-2021. Now, it also analyzed the combined budget estimates of all the states and union territories for the period 2021-2022 vis-a-vis the actual and the revised outcomes for 2019-20 and 2020-2021 respectively, against the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic. So if I remember correctly, I think this is an incorrect number. So 1 and 3 should be correct. That's the context overall. Let's try and see if that fits the bill. Yes. So only option 2 is basically incorrect. So this is basically a gross fiscal deficit to GDP ratio at 3.7%. That is the context. Okay, moving on to question number 3. According to the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, MNRE, what is the amount of India's green energy industry that has received in the context of $1 billion from 14-15 till June 2021? So if you look at that number, that's roughly around $7 billion that has been received, and that's the overall worth till now from 2014-15 till June 2021. That's the context as per MNRE. Moving on to question number 4. Basically talking about the National Pollution Prevention Day or the National Pollution Control Day. So the day is observed on December 2nd every year to honor and memorialize the people who have lost their lives or suffered in the 1984 Bhopal gas calamity, or the Bhopal gas tragedy, it is many times called. The year 2021 marks the 37th anniversary of this, and around 45 tons of MIC or methyl isocyanate, a dangerous gas, leaked from the insecticide plant owned by the Union Carbide India Limited, the Indian subsidiary of the American firm Union Carbide Corporation. So obviously it was a sad day in the history of India. Having said that, all the 3 options here are correct and highlight the information perfectly in that context, right? So this is basically 2nd of December, which is observed as the National Pollution Prevention Day. Okay, moving on to question number 5 now. Who's won the award for the Woman of the Year for World Athletics, right? So in that context, the answer is Anju Barbie George. She happens to be an Indian legend from the long jump area. And that is the context as far as 5 is concerned. Moving on to question number 6. World Computer Literacy Day, that is basically observed on 2nd of December. That is the context. And this is basically to create awareness about computers and to encourage the development of technological skills among the people, especially the children and the women. So that is number 6. Moving on to number 7. Which of the following is incorrect for the RBI's data on manufacturing in states? So Gujarat has surpassed Maharashtra to become India's leading manufacturing hub. Its GVA, or the gross value addition in manufacturing, grew 15.9% annually between FY12 to FY20 to 5.11 lakh crore. That's a massive number. India's cumulative manufacturing GVA grew to 16.9 lakh crore in FY20, which is basically stating an annual growth rate of 9.7% since FY12. Again, a phenomenal number overall. In terms of manufacturing, Maharashtra is followed by Karnataka. I'm not so sure if it was Karnataka. I think one of the hubs in manufacturing is Tamil Nadu, which should be there. I'm surprised if Karnataka would be the answer, so I'm a little doubtful on this one. So this is basically with a GVA of 3.43 lakh crore rupees at the 3rd spot. That is the context, and I think it's not Karnataka. The worst performers are basically Rajasthan with an average annual growth rate of 3.8. Now, Gujarat's capital investment in gross fixed capital formation, which is GFCF, between FY12 and FY19 was at rupees 5.85 lakh crore, while it was 4.07 lakh crores for Maharashtra. That is the overall context. Now, if I look at the answer, yes, C is the incorrect one, because Maharashtra is followed by Tamil Nadu with a GVA of 3.43 lakh crore. And then Karnataka is at 4th at 2.1 lakh crore, and UP is at 5th with 1.87 lakh crore, right? Moving on to question number 8. Who's been appointed as the chairman of NARCL? So the chairman of NARCL has been basically Pradeep Shah, who's been appointed from that context. Now he's also the founder of Indasia Fund Advisors, and also the managing director of Aditya Birla Asset Reconstruction Company, ABARC. Sanjay Jain has been appointed as the chief executive officer of IDRCL, which is the sister concern that is being created parallelly with NARCL. Divakar Gupta, former MD State Bank of India, was also appointed as the chairman of IDRCL. Now the question is, who's the CEO of NARCL that's expected? So basically Padma Kumar Madhavan Nair has also been appointed as the CEO in that context for NARCL. So these are the 4 names that you should know. Moving on to question number 9. Who's been appointed as the IMF's first deputy managing director, FDMD? And the answer is Geeta Gopinath. So she is basically going to be the FDMD. She also happens to be the first female chief economist of the IMF, and she's basically promoted as the IMF's first deputy managing director, serving under the current IMF chief, who happens to be Kristalina Georgieva. Okay, moving on to question number 10. International Day of Banks is also observed, and it is basically observed on 4th of December every year, and it basically started on from the year 2020 when this was observed as the International Day of Banks. Okay, moving on to question number 11. Dr. Mamballe Kalattil Sarada Menon, who passed away recently in Chennai, was India's first women psychiatrist, right? So that's the context here. So she is basically a Padma Bhushan awardee, and she was awarded Padma Bhushan in 1992 for her social work. And she's India's first women psychiatrist and the longest serving head of the Institution of Mental Health, who passed away recently in Chennai, Tamil Nadu. So she became the first woman superintendent of the Institute of Mental Health in 1961. She also established the SCARF India, which is the Schizophrenia Research Foundation of India, in the year 1984, along with psychiatrist R. Tara. She also founded ASHA, a community-based platform supporting the families of those affected by mental illnesses. So she's again been a phenomenal person in the context of mental health in India, and she recently passed away. May her soul rest in peace. Right, now moving on to question number 12. Now, the day basically in terms of the World Soil Day is observed on December 4th of every year, and the day also coincides with the birth anniversary of HM King Bhumibol Adulyadej, the King of Thailand, who sanctioned the event of World Soil Day. The report on the global status of salt-affected soils, SAS, featuring the current status and the challenges, was also launched during a virtual event organized by the Food and Agricultural Organization. Now, the Nigeria Institute of Soil Science, which is NISS, has won the King Bhumibol World Soil Day Award for its commitment to raising awareness on the importance of healthy soils during the WSD 2020. So the only problem that I have with this is I feel that it's not celebrated on 4th of December. I think it's 5th of December where it is celebrated every year. So I think that's what makes option 1 incorrect. Let's try and look at the answers. Yes, 2 and 3 are correct. Option 1 is definitely incorrect, and the answer is definitely that it is celebrated on December 5th, the World Soil Day. Right, moving on to the next question, number 13. Which of the following is the incorrect option with respect to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, that is SIPRI? And the report is titled Top 100 Arms Producing and Military Service Companies in 2020. So in terms of the Indian context, 3 Indian defense manufacturer companies such as HAL, that is Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, Indian Ordnance Factories, and Bharat Electronics Limited rank among the top 100 manufacturers globally, which is good for India. Now, out of the top 100 arms manufacturing companies, the companies from India contribute roughly 1.2% of the total arms sales of companies in the SIPRI top 100 for 2020, so it's slightly lower from an Indian context. US has the highest world's arms sales in terms of 54% of the world arms sales, and that's definitely there. Raytheon Technology, I think, did not top the list. If I remember correctly, it came second, and the arms sales for the top 100 were 17% higher in 2020 than what was there in 2015, which means more arms are being sold over the last 5 years, which is not a great sign from the world peace perspective, but that's the fact basically. Now, talking about the actual answer, Lockheed Martin Co. USA is the number 1, number 2 is Raytheon Technologies, and number 3 again is Boeing. All the 3 are from the US. Moving on to question 14. Talking about the recent India-New Zealand series. So there were T20 internationals, 3, and there were 2 test matches also that were played. So the man of the series for T20s was Rohit Sharma. Test series was Ravichandran Ashwin. Men's team won a 2 test match series against New Zealand, not by 2-0. They basically won by 1-0. I think the first test match was drawn. India could not take the last wicket. Ajaz Patel definitely became the 3rd player in the history of men's test cricket to take all 10 wickets in an innings. The previous 2 were obviously Jim Laker and Anil Kumble. In the 3-match T20 series, captained by Rohit Sharma, India basically ended up getting a whitewash, winning all the 3 matches. So the correct answer, or rather the incorrect option in this case, is option B, because India won the series 1-0 in the test series, right? Moving on to question number 15. Incorrect option with respect to the World Inequality Report 2022. So in 2021, the top 10% and top 1% of the Indian population held 57% and 22% of the national income respectively, where the share of the bottom 50% basically went down to only 13%. Now, if you talk about the global billionaire wealth, that increased from 50% between 2019 to 2021. The female labor income share in India, I don't think it is 28%. It's a slightly lower number than that. So I think this option is incorrect. Talking about the Indian income inequality, that was very high during the 1858 to 1947 period, with the top 10% income share being around 50%. So from there to having reached 22%, that's a good achievement, but it is still on the higher side as far as the income inequality is concerned, right? So talking about MENA, which is the Middle East and North Africa, these were the most unequal regions in the world, whereas Europe was the least unequal in that context, right? So which is the correct figure here? I think it's 18% if I remember correctly, and not 28%. Obviously, gender inequalities in India are of course very high, and we are already working towards improving that. So female labor income share in India is roughly 18%, which is lower than the average in Asia, and the average in Asia excluding China is 21%. Right, so moving on to question number 16 now, talking about the Lowy Institute Asia Power Index 2021. So India has basically been ranked 4th most powerful country in Asia for comprehensive power out of 26 countries. This quite about seems right. I don't think index has been topped by China, while it obviously seems to be the perfect one to fit the bill, but I don't think that's the case. The Asia Power Index 2021 evaluates international power in Asia through 131 indicators across 8 thematic measures. It basically ranks 26 countries and territories in terms of their capacity to share their external environment, and the annual Asia Power Index launched by the Low Institute was basically launched in 2018. So all these seem to be correct. I think the list is topped by US. It's ironic that we're talking about Asia Power Index and US still tops the list. China was second, Japan was third, India fourth, and Russia is fifth in that context, right? Moving on to the next question. On 8th of December 2021, the Chief of Defence Staff of the Indian Armed Force, basically General Bipin Rawat, India's most senior defence official, died in an helicopter crash near Kunur in Tamil Nadu. Now, obviously, this was on board the Indian Air Force Mi-17 V5 helicopter along with his wife Madhulika Rawat and 11 other defence personnel, while IF Group Captain Varun Singh is the lone survivor in the crash. So he was returning from the Defence Services Staff College in Wellington in Nilgiris district of Tamil Nadu. So it's a very sorry incident that happened, and may the souls of all the people who passed away in this accident rest in peace. Moving on to question number 18. December 8th, 2021, the Union Cabinet chaired by PM Narendra Modi has approved the funding and implementation of Ken Betwa Interlinking of Rivers project. So the project has a total outlay of 44,000 crores approximately. It is the first project under the National Perspective Plan for Interlinking of Rivers, and it will basically cover the states of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. It is proposed to be implemented, I think, in 8 years and not 10 years with the state-of-the-art technology, and will generate 103 megawatts hydropower and 27 megawatts solar power. So I think the third is the option which is incorrect. Yes, so it is proposed to be implemented in 8 years. That's the context, right? Moving on to question number 19. On December 8th, again, the Union Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi has approved the proposal for the Department of Rural Development for the continuation of PMAY Gramin, which is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, beyond March 2021. What is the total outlay for the construction of the remaining houses in rupees lakh crore? So I think if I remember correctly, it was 2.17 lakh crore, which is the overall outlay. And this is basically for the construction of the remaining houses, which is like 1.55.75 lakh houses as on 31st March 2021. With a total target of around 2.95 crore houses. Now, out of the overall outlay of 2.17 lakh crores, the center's share will be 1.25 lakh crores and the state's share will be around 73,000 crores. That's the context, right? So there's also an additional requirement of around 18,676 crore towards the interest payment that needs to be paid out to NABARD. So that's the context on PMAY Gramin. Now moving on to question number 20. Which of the following is incorrect with respect to the fifth bi-monthly monetary policy statement for FY22 that has been released by the 6-member Monetary Policy Committee of the RBI? So RBI has proposed to increase the 14-day VRRR or the variable reverse repo auction amounts on a fortnightly basis in a manner of rupees 6.5 lakh crore on 17 December 2021 and a further 7.5 lakh crore on 31st of December 2021. Now RBI has kept the rates under LAF, which is the Liquidity Adjustment Facility, unchanged, maintaining the status quo for the 9th consecutive time, and it has decided to continue with the accommodative stance in order to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on the economy and to revive and sustain growth on a durable basis. Talking about the Monetary Policy Committee, it has also retained India's real GDP growth projection for FY22 at 9.5%. Talking about CPI retail inflation, I think this number is slightly lesser because inflation has always hovered in the last few months around 5%, so I'm not convinced about this number. For the first time in 21 years, RBI plans to revise the norms for investment portfolios of your commercial banks to basically reflect changes in terms of the global standards on valuation and measurement and progress in the domestic market. So this is also expected to happen. So all these are right. I think D is the only one which is incorrect. If I remember correctly, this was 5.3% in FY 2022 with 5.1% in Q3 and 5.7% in Q4. So that's the context on this front. Moving on to question number 21. Who's been appointed as the Chancellor of Germany after Angela Merkel, who basically held the position for 16 years? It's Olaf Scholz, who's basically age 63. He'll be the 9th post-World War II Chancellor of Germany. That's the context. Moving on. Looking at question 22, which acclaimed Indian architect has been named for the Royal Gold Medal 2022? So the answer in this case is Balkrishna Vithaldas Doshi. He's basically an acclaimed Indian architect, and he's won an award which is considered to be one of the world's highest honors for architecture, right? And the announcement for the same was made by RIBA, which is the Royal Institute of British Architects. In 2018, Balkrishna Vithaldas Doshi also became the first Indian architect to receive the Pritzker Architecture Prize. Right, moving on to question number 23 now, right? So talking about the 9th edition of the India Skills Report ISR 2022 released by VBox. So Maharashtra has basically retained the top position in the list of states with the highest pool of employable talent. The theme for ISR 2022 was basically re-engineering education and skill building for the future of work. Now, as per ISR 2022 report, the overall youth employability amongst the test takers of the VBox National Employability Test, also known as WNET, stood at 48.7%, which was definitely higher than the last year's number, which was 45.9%. Talking about option D, Bangalore, Karnataka has topped the city with the highest employability. If I'm correct, I think since Maharashtra has retained the top position, I would like to assume that a city in Maharashtra would have basically topped this list as well. So I think this is Pune, if I remember correctly. The India Skills Report 2022 was basically provided by VBox in partnership with AICTE, AIU, TAGD, CII, Sunstone University, UNDP, and obviously talking about MSDE and ASAP Kerala as well. All of these were part of the report. So if I understand this correctly, I think Pune was the one which topped the highest employability in terms of the city, and that was with 78% of the test takers scoring above 60%. So that's quite a number from a Pune standpoint. Okay, moving on to question number 24. Recently, which mobile manufacturer has the ISRO signed an agreement to strengthen the research and development of NAVIC messaging service, an Indian satellite navigation system? So the answer in this case is Oppo. That's the company which has tied up with the ISRO. So NAVIC basically stands for Navigation with Indian Constellation, and obviously aims to provide a user-friendly platform. Right, so moving on to question number 25 now. Which of the following is the incorrect option for the Global Health Security GHS Index 2021? So the world's average overall GHS index was reduced to 38.9 in 2021 from a score of 40.2 in the GHS index of 2019. India has basically ranked 66th out of 195 countries. Okay, Australia has ranked first on the index. The GHS 2021 index assesses countries across 6 categories, 37 indicators, and 171 questions. The index is developed in partnership with the Nuclear Threat Initiative (NTI) and the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security at the Bloomberg School of Public Health, and it was first launched in October 2019. So all of these appear to be correct. I don't think Australia topped the index. Let's try and check that again. So the first one in the health index GSS is basically US. Australia was second, Finland was third, Canada was fourth, Thailand was fifth, and India is basically ranked 66th. Okay, moving on to question 26. Talking about the International Mountain Day. So the day is annually observed on 10th of December. Then the theme for International Mountain Day 2021 is Sustainable Mountain Tourism. The United Nations General Assembly has declared the year 2002 as the International Year of Mountains. I think the only problem that I have with this is the annual day for mountains is not observed on 10th, but it is 11th of December. Let's cross-check that. Yes, so this basically observed globally on 11th of December to create awareness about the importance of preserving the mountains across the globe. The first ever International Mountains Day was observed on 11th of December 2003. Right, so moving on to question number 27 now. Talking about the UNICEF Day. Okay, so the day is annually observed on December 11th. UNICEF Day 2021 marks the 75th anniversary of the foundation of UNICEF. Yes, if I remember correctly, it was in 1946 when it was established. In 1953, UNICEF became the permanent member of the United Nations system and was renamed to United Nations Children's Fund, but the name UNICEF was still retained overall. So I think all the options in this case are correct. It was basically created under the Resolution 57I of the United Nations General Assembly, and this was on 11th of December 1946 to provide supplies and assistance to children after World War II, and it has continued the good work in order to promote the welfare of children over the last 75 years. Moving on to question number 28 now. Who's been awarded the 2021 Ramanujan Prize for Young Mathematicians from Developing Countries? So the answer in this case is Professor Neena Gupta. Now talking about Sujata Ramadore, she was also awarded this prize way back in 2006, and Brazil's Carolina Bering de Araujo was given this award in 2020. So Professor Neena Gupta happens to be the third woman to receive this award, and she's basically a mathematician at ISI, which is the Indian Statistical Institute in Kolkata, West Bengal, and she's been recognized for her outstanding work in affine algebraic geometry and commutative algebra. Right, so moving on to question number 29, we're talking about the International Universal Health Coverage Day. So the day is annually observed across the globe on 12th of December. The theme of UHC Day is Leave No One's Health Behind, Invest in Health Systems for All. The day also signifies unprecedented momentum and global commitment to achieve health for all by 2030. So if I look at this, I think all the options in this case are indeed correct. Nothing wrong with this at all. So talking about the Universal Health Coverage Day, that was first organized on 12th of December 2014, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the ABPMJ, that is Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, on 23rd September 2018 in Ranchi, Jharkhand, as a step towards UHC only. So that's the context and the correlation between UHC and ABPMJ. Right, moving on to question number 30 now. Recently, which wetland from the state of Uttar Pradesh has been recognized as the 47th Ramsar site of India? So the answer in this case happens to be the Haidarpur wetland site. So basically that's the human-made wetland of around 6,908 hectares in Bijnor, Uttar Pradesh, and that's been recognized at the 47 Ramsar site of India. And overall it is the 2,463rd site internationally. So the convention was adopted in Ramsar, Iran in 1971, and it came into force in 1975, right? So moving on to question number 31 now. Which of the following is incorrect with respect to the International Institute for Management Development in terms of the World Talent Ranking for the year 2021? So India has ranked 56th on the index. Sounds about right. Switzerland tops the index. The World Talent Ranking defines talent competitiveness into 5 main factors. I think the factors here were 3 and not 5. The IMD World Talent Ranking 2021 shows the overall ranking for approximately 64 economies. And in the peer group ranking, Asia Pacific, India has basically ranked 12th. So globally it is 56, India, but in APAC it is 12th. So talking about the 3 factors, basically, it's basically talking about investment and development factor, the appeal factor, and the readiness factor. These are the 3 factors, and it's not 5 main factors, right? Moving on to question number 32 now. Incorrect option with respect to the report titled State of Inequalities, HIV, Tuberculosis and Malaria, that was released by WHO and the Global Fund. So the report basically looks at 22 health indicators from 186 countries on HIV, TB and malaria. This is the first monitoring report devoted to systematically assessing the global state of inequality in the 3 diseases, namely HIV, TB and malaria. Now talking about HIV testing of pregnant women, that basically increases to 64% from 40% if basically the HIV testing levels in the poor and the rich countries reach the same. So if the testing levels reach the same, then HIV testing of pregnant women increases to 64% from the mere 40%. So that's a good number. Then spending of majority income on TB related diseases will basically come down from a weighted average of 61% to a potential average of 38%. Malaria would basically improve 26% when the inequalities are reduced. So that's the overall number that is there. Now, if I look at the context here, I don't think it is 22 health indicators. I think it's slightly more than that. So the report basically looks at 32 health indicators from 186 countries in terms of the 3 diseases, right? Moving on to question number 33 now. Recently, Dash became the first government to turn 100% paperless, and that's a great achievement. That's Dubai, and it was announced by the UAE Crown Prince Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. Right, so that is basically a good achievement from Dubai's standpoint. Now moving on to the next question, number 34, talking about the Uttar Pradesh cabinet, which has approved the implementation of the Atmanirbhar Krishak Integrated Development Scheme in the state for the period 2021-2022 and up to 2031-2032 in order to boost the agricultural sector. So the expected outlay for the implementation is rupees 1220.92 crore. I think it's a period of 10 years and not 8 years. Under the scheme, around 1475 FPOs or farmer producer organizations will be formed in the next 3 years in each of the development blocks of UP, and will also aid the achievement of the target of utilizing a budget of rupees 12,000 crores allocated to the state by the center under the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. So all of these seem correct except for option 1, wherein I think the period is 10 years. So that is the context overall here, right? Moving on to question number 35 now. Who's been crowned Miss Universe 2021 at the 70th edition of the Miss Universe competition held at Eilat, Israel? So the answer in this case is Harnas Sindhu, and she is the 3rd Indian to do us proud after Shushmita Sen did that in 1994 and again was followed by Lara Datta in 2000. So then followed by Harnas Sindhu in the year 2021. All these 3 ladies have done India immensely proud. Moving on to question number 36. Which country was basically launched its first series project 22220 versatile nuclear powered icebreaker known as Sibir? So icebreakers would be needed in countries which wherein you're trying to break the ice near the ocean. So the answer has to be most probably Russia, and that exactly is the answer. So Sibir will support the growing fleet of icebreakers to keep the northern sea route open for year-round shipping through the Arctic and basically enable a wider presence of India in the Arctic region as well. So the project 22220 nuclear powered icebreakers are the most powerful and the largest in the world. So the construction of Sibir was started in 2015 and the icebreaker was floated on 22nd December 2017. Right, so moving on to question 37 now. Which state has recently signed an agreement on the technical cooperation project with the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization and the Indian Council for Agricultural Research in order to help the state farmers in adopting a sustainable agriculture food system? So the answer in this case happens to be Andhra Pradesh. So that is the context. So basically it's the AP government, UNFAO and ICAR that is tied up together. Right, moving on to the next one, question 38. So in terms of the Sports Journalists Federation of India, it has basically announced the SJFI Awards as the SJFI Annual General Meeting in Guwahati, Assam. Sunil Gavaskar has been honored with the prestigious SJFI Medal 2021. So this is correct. SJFI Sportsman of the Year, Neeraj Chopra, yes. So talking about the SJFI Sportswoman of the Year, I don't think it's Lavlina Bogohain, but it is Mirabai Chanu, who basically was the Sportswoman of the Year at the SJFI Awards. So that is the answer, and she basically won it for weightlifting. Now moving on to question number 39. Who's inaugurated the first phase of the Kashi Vishwanath Corridor project, Kashi Vishwanath Dham, which basically connects Kashi Vishwanath Temple and the Ganga Ghats in Varanasi? So the answer is our beloved Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So 23 buildings spread over around 5 lakh square feet area was inaugurated as part of the first phase of the 339 crore rupees Kashi Vishwanath Corridor project, or the Kashi Vishwanath Dham project. The foundation stone of the project was laid on 8th of March 2019. Right, moving on to question number 40 now. Incorrect option with respect to the 6th edition of the India Water Impact Summit, IWIS 2021. So this was basically organized by the NMCG, which is the National Mission for Clean Ganga, and Sea Ganga, which is the Center for Ganga River Basin Management and Studies. So this 5-day event was themed River Resources Allocation, Planning and Management at the regional level. It was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I'm not so sure. I think it had to do something with the Ministry of Jal Shakti, if I remember correctly. Physically, it was held at NMCG office, New Delhi, and Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh. Now, the international focus of IWIS 2021 was on collaborations with the European Union, Denmark, Netherlands, Norway, US, UK, Australia, and the BRICS countries. So all of these seem correct. I think inauguration by PM Modi is the only one which I have a doubt. So the answer, yes, in this case is Union Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, who happens to be the part of Ministry of Jal Shakti, along with Rajiv Ranjan Mishra, the Director General of NMCG, and Dr. Vinod Tare, the founding head of Sea Ganga. So these were the three people who inaugurated this particular 6th edition of IWIS. Right, moving on to question number 41. Talking about the Power Finance Corporation, it has signed an agreement with Green Cell Mobility in order to lend 275 crore rupees for the deployment of 350 electric buses across the 9 cities of Uttar Pradesh. Now, buses will be deployed in key cities of UP, Agra, Meerut, Aligarh, Bareilly, Ghaziabad, and Mathura. Seems to be okay. So the initiative is basically part of FAME 2 scheme, which is nothing but the faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electrical vehicles. Now, the Green Cell Mobility is an e-mobility platform supported by the governments of India. I don't think it is the US. I think it's the United Kingdom, if I'm not mistaken, to boost the adoption of electrical vehicles in the country. So the context is yes, only option 1 and 2 are correct because it's not the US, but it's the United Kingdom. Moving on to question number 42 now. The SEBI has basically set up a 7-member advisory committee for leveraging the regulatory and technology solutions. So basically it's called the Alerts, which will be headed by, if I remember correctly, Madhavi Puri Buch, to basically enhance the technological capabilities and explore suitable technology solutions for the early detection of different kinds of anomalies that are there in the market. So Alerts is a 7-member committee headed by Madhavi Puri Buch, former whole-time member of SEBI, and also has experts from various other technology domains as well as members, right? That is question 42. Moving on to 43 now. Which tech company is set to expand its partnership with CBSE to basically provide a curriculum on digital safety and online well-being and also augmented reality for around 1 crore college students and 10 lakh educators across India over the next 3 years? So the answer in this case is Meta, formerly known as Facebook. Moving on to question number 44. What is the question now? Which Indian athlete has been re-elected as the member of the Badminton World Federation's Athletes Commission for a second term till 2025? So the answer in this case is PV Sindhu. So former world champion and India's second time Olympic medalist shuttler PV Sindhu, or Pusarla Venkata Sindhu, is among the 6 appointed members of the commission. She was first elected as the member of BWH's Athletes Commission in 2017, and she is the only member who basically stood for re-election. She was the second Indian to become a member of BWH's Athletes Commission In 2017, it was Saina Nehwal who basically joined the commission as a representative of the IOC Athletes Commission. So that's the context as far as 44 is concerned. Moving on to question number 45, who's been appointed as the MD and CEO of Punjab National Bank. So till now, it was basically Mallikarjuna Rao, who continues to be there till 31st January 2022. But then the position will be taken over by Atul Kumar Goyal. Now talking about Soma Sankara Prasad, he's going to take over as the MD and CEO of UCO Bank as well. And this is again expected to happen in, I think, 1st Feb 2022. That's the context. Okay, so Atul Kumar Goyal, MD and CEO of Punjab National Bank, comes after the approval from the ACC or the Appointments Committee of the Cabinet, and he'll basically serve as the PNB chief till December 31st, 2024. He will succeed Mallikarjuna Rao, the incumbent MD and CEO of Punjab National Bank, who will basically retire on 31st January 2022. Incidentally, he was actually given an extension recently, and anyway, he's going to retire on 31st January 2022. So, okay, moving on to question number 46 now. On December 15, 2021, in consultation with the Department of Financial Services, the Ministry of Finance, RBI, has basically decided to make Dash eligible to conduct government agency business. So basically, it is the scheduled payments banks and the scheduled small finance banks who have been allowed to conduct the government's agency business. So it's option A and B. That is the correct answer in this case, right? So moving on to question number 47. 15 December again, the Union Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi has approved a production-linked incentive PLI scheme with an outlay of 76,000 crore rupees in order to boost the semiconductor and display manufacturing in India. In total, Government of India has committed a support of rupees 2.3 lakh crore, equivalent to $30 billion, in order to position India as a global hub for electronics manufacturing, with semiconductors as the foundation building block. So the program will basically promote higher domestic value addition in electronics manufacturing and will contribute significantly to achieving the 1 trillion digital economy and 5 trillion GDP by 2025. The scheme is basically for setting up of semiconductor fabs and display fabs in India, and this shall extend fiscal support of up to 50% of the project cost. The design linked initiative DLI scheme will basically extend the product design linked incentive of up to 25%. I think if I remember correctly, it is the same as 50% here as well. So that is where the correction is required here of the eligible expenditure and product deployment linked incentive of 6 to 8% on the net sales for 5 years. 6 to 8% again seems to be quite high. I think the incentive should be a slightly lower number here as well. So I think this also is incorrect. In addition to the approval of rupees 76,000 crore scheme to boost semiconductor and display manufacturing in India, GOI has also approved incentives for every part of the supply chain, including electronic components, sub-assemblies and the finished goods as well. So all of these seem to be correct. The only option which I have a problem is with option D, wherein we're looking at an incentive of 4 to 6% and basically up to 50% of the eligible expenditure. So that's the context as far as 47 is concerned. Moving on to question number 48. Again, on 15 December 2021, the Union Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi has approved an incentive scheme with an estimated financial outlay of rupees 1,300 crore for 1 year, that is FY 2022, to promote RuPay debit cards and low value, which is up to rupees 2,000 Bhim UPI transactions from a P2M perspective, that is person to merchant perspective. So here the answer is 1,300 crore, right? So that is the overall context. Now moving on to the next question. Correct option with respect to the Vijay Divas observed across India and Bangladesh on December 16th. So that is basically the celebration of the 50th Vijay Divas, that is 2021, Swarnim Vijay Divas, the golden jubilee of the 1971 Liberation War. I don't think it was the Prime Minister of India who was invited. I think it was the President of India who was basically invited as the guest of honor. So I think this one is incorrect. The war, which started on 3rd December 1971, came to an end after 13 days on 16 December 1971. So all of this is fine. I think President Ramnath Kovind was basically invited as the guest of honor. Yeah, that's the answer in this case. Moving on to question number 50. Recently, the Cabinet Committee of Economic Affairs, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has basically approved an extension for the implementation of PMKSY, which is the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Now, talking about this, the scheme has been extended for 2021-2026. I think the outlay of the scheme was significantly higher than the 73,000 crores mentioned here. I think it's more than 90,000 if I remember correctly. It will basically benefit around 22 lakh farmers, including 2.5 lakh scheduled caste and 2 lakh scheduled tribe farmers. This also seems to be okay. The scheme was basically launched in 2015-16 with a total of 99 projects identified. Now, out of the 99, 46 have been completed and the rest of the projects will be completed by 2024-2025. Now, the Accelerated Irrigation Benefit Program AIBP, Har Khet Ko Pani HKKP and Watershed Development components have also been approved for continuation during PMKSY 2021-2026. So all of these seem to be correct. I think the outlay is significantly higher than the 73,000 mentioned here. That's what is incorrect here. Right, yes. So this is basically 93,068 crores in order to benefit the 22 lakh farmers. Moving on to question number 51. The Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister recently released a report on the state of foundational literacy and numeracy in India, which highlights the importance of early education years in the overall development of a child. Now, talking about the report was prepared by the Institute for Competitiveness. This seems to be fine. The 5 pillars, I think, are also correct. Educational infrastructure, access to education, basic health, learning outcomes and governance. All of this also seems to be fine with 41 indicators also is okay. West Bengal has topped the ranking in the large state category, followed by Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra. I think all of this is also fine. So I think all the 3 options are correct in this case. Right, moving on to question number 52. The Union Cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has basically given its nod for the proposal to bring uniformity into the marriageable age of men and women. A long overdue, this should have happened a long time ago, but it's finally happening. So increasing the legal age of marriage for women from 18 to 21 years. We are talking about equality, and this is finally coming in. So talking about it, Section 5(3) of the Hindu Marriage Act, I don't think it was 1952, it was a little later than that, sets 18 years as the minimum age. Yes, that was what the age was for the bride, and 21 years for the groom. Now it's also being brought up for the bride at 21 years. Now, as per the data released by NHFS5, which is the National Family Health Survey in 2019-2021, 23.3% of the women in the age of 20 to 24 were married before the age of 18 itself. But it is still an improvement from the 26.8% that it used to be in 2015-16. Now, the proposals in the bill have been made based on the recommendations submitted to the Prime Minister's office in December 2020 by MOWCD, which is the Ministry of Women and Child Development, basically constituted a 10-member task force headed by Jaya Jaitley, Samata Party chief. So this is a welcome decision overall, I feel, but the context is that this was not in 1952, it was 1955. So this is a positive step in the equality of men and women. So now moving on to question number 53. So the Union Minister of State Independent Charge Science and Technology, Dr. Jitendra, granted in principle approval for setting up how many nuclear reactors at Jaitapur in Maharashtra? So the answer in this case happens to be 6. So the approval is basically for setting up 6 nuclear power reactors of basically 1650 megawatt each, making Jaitapur India's largest nuclear power generating site with a total capacity of 9,900 megawatts. So the technical cooperation for this was provided by the French firm EDF, also known as Électricité de France. So moving on to question number 54 now. So which state government has basically launched the Khel Nursery Scheme 2022-2023 in order to promote sports in the state? So the answer in this case happens to be Haryana. That is the one which has introduced this, and this is basically by the Ministry of State for Sports and Youth Affairs, Sandeep Singh. So moving on to the next question, number 55. Recently, M.K. Stalin, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, announced that Tamil Thai Varthu, which is the Neerarum Kadaludutha from Manon Maniyam Tamil drama, has been penned by Tamil scholar as the state song of Tamil Nadu. So the answer is there in the question itself. So it is basically Manon Maniyam Sundaranar Pillai. So that's the correct one. And the context is that this song should be sung in 55 seconds in the Mohana Ragam or the Mullai Pani Ragam. That is the context as far as question 55 is concerned. Moving on to question 56. The Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade DPIIT under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry MCI has launched the Unified Logistics Interface Platform ULIP, and the hackathon is basically called as Logistics, with an aim to crowdsource ideas to benefit the logistics industry in India. So the hackathon was basically launched by Amitabh Kant, the CEO of Niti Aayog. Logistics is basically organized by National Institute of Transforming India, Niti Aayog, and the Atal Innovation Mission, and is supported by your NICDC, which is the National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation, and NLDSL as well. And the hackathon is basically divided into 2 stages, the ideation stage and the prototype stage. So I think all the options in this case are indeed correct. So moving on to question number 57. Which company has obtained the order for manufacturing, assembly, integration, testing and supply of HEAT, which is basically your high-speed expendable aerial target, which is basically named as Abhyas, for the Aeronautical Development Establishment ADE of DRDO. So the answer in this case is HAL, or the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Moving on to 58. Which country has honored Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the highest civilian award, basically called as Gadag Pel Ghi Korlo, also known as the Order of the Dragon King Druk Gyalpo? So the answer in this case happens to be Bhutan, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is basically the first foreigner to receive the coveted award, and it was on the occasion of Bhutan's 114th National Day that was celebrated on 17th December 2021. So moving on to the next question, number 59. Who has won the Best Female Debut honor at the 2021 Paralympic Sports Awards? So the answer in this case is Avni Lekhara. Talking about it in that context, Indian shooter Avni Lekhara, who's basically created in history by winning India's first gold medal in shooting at the 2020 Paralympic Games at Tokyo. She also became the first Indian woman to win 2 Paralympic medals in a single edition of the Paralympic Games, and the awards were basically announced by International Paralympic Committees. That's the context on 59. Moving on to question number 60. Talking about the Ganga Expressway project, Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid the foundation stone for the longest highway in India, the Ganga Expressway. I don't think it was Meerut. I think Meerut is a part of the highway, but it was not, the foundation stone was not at Meerut. I think it was Shahjahanpur, if I'm correct. To basically offer fast-paced connectivity in India. The 6-lane expressway will be built at a cost of about 36,200 crore and will connect the western and the eastern regions of UP. So a 3.5 kilometer long airstrip was also planned to be built in Shahjahanpur. See the answers there in the question itself, for assisting emergency landing and takeoff of Air Force planes. So the answer in this case is option 1 is definitely incorrect. So 2 and 3 are correct. So basically looking at Shahjahanpur as the foundation stone laying place. That's the context. Okay, moving on to question number 61. DRDO has basically successfully test fired its new generation Agni Prime or Agni P missile. So the test was done from the defense base at Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island of the Odisha coast in Balasore. This seems to be correct. The surface nuclear capable ballistic missile with a range of 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers. I think this is probably incorrect. You're talking about a surface nuclear capable ballistic missile. The range has to be slightly smaller than that. Now, the nuclear capable Agni P was first successfully test fired by DRDO on 28th of June 2021. This is also correct. So if I look at the overall context, I think option 2 is the one which is incorrect. So it is basically a range of 1,000 to 2,000 kilometers. That's the context. Okay, moving on to question number 62. NSDC and GIF, which is the Generation India Foundation, launched Project Amber, which is the accelerated mission for better employment and retention at the India Habitat Center, New Delhi, to bridge the gap between skilling and employment. So the project will be equally funded by MSD, which is the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, under the Sankalp program, which is basically the skill acquisition and knowledge awareness for livelihood promotion, and also through private philanthropy. The project will also be supported by the BlackRock Foundation and McKinsey & Company. The training will be conducted in Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendras (PMKKs) across 70 districts in COVID resilient job roles. So I think all of these are fine. The answer has to be in this case option A. All are correct. Right. So under this project, the training will be provided to over 30,000 youths, with over 50% of them being women. So that's a good initiative overall. So moving on to question number 63. The International Financial Services Center Authority IFSCA set up a committee headed by Dash for creating a framework for the transfer of the stressed loans from domestic lenders to the financial institutions. So the answer in this case happens to be former RBI Executive Director G. Padmanabhan, who's basically been given the task of heading or chairing this committee, along with other experts from banking and legal firms as well. Right, so moving on to question number 64 now. Where was India's first International Arbitration and Mediation Center inaugurated? So the answer in this case happens to be Hyderabad, Telangana. So Justice N.V. Ramana, the Chief Justice of India, and K. Chandrasekhara Rao, Chief Minister Telangana, basically inaugurated India's first International Arbitration and Mediation Center at the Phoenix VK Tower at Nanakramguda, Hyderabad, Telangana. Right, moving on to question number 65 now. Talking about the Goa Liberation Day observed on December 19th, 2021, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated and laid the foundation stone for several developmental projects worth over 650 crore rupees at the Shyam Prasad Mukherjee Stadium in Talegaon, Goa. Now, talking about it, the renovated Fort Aguada Jail Museum was one of the projects. The Super Speciality Hospital Block at Goa Medical College is another project. And Prime Minister also released My Stamp depicting the Hutatma Smarak at Patradevi, which salutes the great sacrifices made by the martyrs of the Goa Liberation movement. So I think all of these are definitely correct options overall. Right, so let's move on to question number 66. On the invitation of Bangladesh President Abdul Hamid on December 15 to 17, 2021, the President of India, Ramnath Kovind, was on a 3-day state visit to Bangladesh in order to attend the 50th Victory Day, Vijay Divas, or Vijay Divas as it is called, at the National Parade Ground in Dhaka as a guest of honor. He was the only foreign dignitary invited to jointly commemorate these celebrations, reflecting a strong bond between these two nations. Yes, the President inaugurated the newly constructed Sri Sri Ramna Kali Mandir. I don't think it was Gopalganj, but it was Dhaka only. That was basically destroyed way back in March 1971 by the Pakistani forces. So I think this one is incorrect in terms of the location. So he also presented a replica of the 1971 era MiG-21 aircraft to his counterpart Abdul Hamid in order to commemorate the joint sacrifices made by the armed forces of both India and Bangladesh during the 1971 Liberation War. Now, the year 2021 also commemorates the Golden Jubilee of Bangladesh's independence. Now, he also visited Bangabandhu Memorial Museum in order to pay respect to the memory of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the father of the nation, that is for Bangladesh. So, I think the only incorrect option in this case is B, because Sri Sri Ramna Kali Mandir was basically in Dhaka. That's the context, right? Moving on to the next question, number 67, talking about the 5th edition of Truecaller's Annual Report 2021, Global Spam and Scam Report. So, India has moved up the rankings from 9th in 2020 to 4th in 2021. So all the wrong places, India keeps moving up the rankings. So again, this is due to a significant increase in sales and telemarketing calls. So India gets a lot of unwanted calls basically. I don't think it was Indonesia. The title has been retained by Brazil, which basically is the most spammed country, I think. And this is basically for the 4th year. And definitely Peru and Ukraine are also there. But I think it's not Indonesia, but Brazil. So in India, 93.5% and more of all the spam calls were basically sales or telemarketing calls. So the only incorrect option here is option 2. With 32.9 spam calls per user per month, Brazil has definitely retained the title as the most spammed country for the 4th year in a row. Moving on to question number 68. The Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations launched the State of the World's Land and Water Resources for Food and Agriculture Systems at Breaking Point Synthesis Report 2021, which is basically also known as SOLAR 2021. The report highlights the worsening state of Earth's soil, land and water resources and the challenges it poses for feeding of the global population, which is expected to reach 10 billion people by 2050. The central theme of SOLAR 2021 was basically systems at breaking point, which is also fine. SOLAR 2021 is a collaborative effort led by the Land and Water Division of FAO in collaboration with several divisions or units at FAO, which is also fine. With the increase in population, the agricultural land available per capita for crops and animal husbandry declined by 30% between 2000 and 2017 to 0.9 HA per capita in 2017. So I have a problem with this option. It cannot be such a steep decline. Decline would be there, but I don't think this number is correct. Now, talking about the next number, which is 2000 and 2018, the decline in global per capita internal renewable water resources, IRWR, was about 20%. Now, Europe 3% has the lowest percentage change overall. So this seems to be a more logical number. I think this also has to be somewhere around 20% is what I feel. So I think option D is incorrect. So looking at the answer, yes, basically this is declined by 20% between 2000 and 2017. So that's where option D is the correct answer in this case. Right, so moving on to the question number 69, talking about the 16th session of the IGC UNESCO Convention on Safeguarding the Intangible Cultural Heritage ICH that was held in Paris, France. So the two latest inscriptions in the ICH list from an India standpoint are basically Kumbh Mela inscribed in 2017 and Yoga inscribed in 2016. It is also inscribed Durga Puja in Kolkata on the representative list of ICH in terms of humanity. So India basically now has 14 ICH elements on the prestigious UNESCO representative list of ICH of humanity. Now talking about the IGC Committee for Safeguarding of ICH, it basically inscribed 8 elements on the 2021 UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding. I don't know if there are 8 elements that could be added which need urgent safeguarding. Does not seem to be a logical number or a practical number. I think it's a slightly lower number than this because there cannot be 8 elements that need urgent safeguarding. 39 seems to be still okay. 39 elements on the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage, this seems to be fine. For the first time this year, the Intergovernmental Committee decided to inscribe elements from Congo, Denmark, Haiti, Iceland, Federated Republic of Micronesia, Montenegro, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Seychelles and Timor-Leste to basically UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage list, which basically now features 630 elements from 140 countries. So the only option which I have a problem with is option D, because it is not 8 elements, but it is 4 elements in the context of the ones which are in need of urgent safeguarding. Right, so moving on to question number 70 now. Which steel company has been awarded the prestigious Golden Peacock Environment Management Award, GPMA 2021 in the steel sector by the Institute of Directors? So the answer in this case is Steel Authority of India Limited, and SAIL has received this award for the 3rd consecutive year. Right, so moving on to question 71 now. First Indian shuttler to win a silver medal in the men's singles at the Badminton World Federation World Championship. So the answer in this case is Kidambi Srikanth. He won the silver medal because he ended up losing to Singapore's Loh Kian Yew in the finals of the men's singles in the WWF World Championships 2021 officially known as the Total Energies BWF World Championships 2021, was held at Huelva, Spain. Moving on to question number 72. Who has been appointed as the brand ambassador of the state of Uttarakhand with the aim of encouraging the youth of the state towards sports and public health? So the answer in this case happens to be Rishabh Pant, and he basically was appointed by the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand, Pushkar Singh Dhami. Right, moving on to the next question. Which of the following is correct with respect to the Goa Liberation Day again? So the day is observed on 19th of December every year in India and marks the day Indian Armed Forces freed Goa in 1961. So the Portuguese colonized several parts of India in 1510, and by the end of the 19th century, the Portuguese colonies in India were limited to Goa, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, and Anjediva Island. A 36-hour military operation conducted from December 18th, 1961 was basically codenamed Operation Vijay, also known as Operation Victory, and it involved attacks by the Indian Navy, Indian Armed Forces, and Indian Air Force as well. Now, another reason why Goa was in the news recently is because of the erection of a statue of Cristiano Ronaldo, and there are certain segments of the society which felt that it was okay because he is someone who basically represents football as a brand ambassador, but there were other sections of the society who felt that this was not the right thing to do, especially that Goa was celebrating the Liberation Day or the Liberation Month, so to speak. So this again was the reason why the controversy happened, because of Ronaldo's statue being brought in. So all the options in this case are definitely correct, so there is nothing wrong overall here. So let's move on to question number 74. So here you're talking about the Indian Army establishing the Quantum Lab at the Military College of Telecommunication Engineering in the military headquarters of war. So where exactly is this position? So it is basically at Indore, Madhya Pradesh. That's the context. So the Quantum Lab was established with the support of NSCS, which is the National Security Council Secretariat, in order to spearhead the research and training in this key developing field. So the location is basically at Indore, Madhya Pradesh. Moving on to question number 75. Union Minister Rajnath Singh, Ministry of Defence, has basically launched India's first of its kind GIS, which is a Geographic Information System. Based on that, you've developed something called as the Automatic Water Supply System for the citizens of cantonment boards under eChhavni project. So the module for this system has been developed by BISAG, which is the Bhaskaracharya Institute for Space Applications and Geoinformatics, under the guidance of Defence Secretary and Director General of Defence Estates. The project has been launched on the occasion of Defence Estates Day 2021, that is December 18th, 2021. I think this is not correct. The integration with the eChhavni portal is being done by Bharat Electronics Limited. This also is fine. I think the date for the Defence Estates Day is incorrect, because that date is not December 18th, but it is December 16th. Right, so moving on to the next question, number 76. Which bank has grabbed the top spot in the overall digital transactions among large banks for the period FY 2020 to FY 2021? So the answer in this case is Bank of Baroda. On December 20, 2021, Bank of Baroda grabbed the top spot in overall digital transactions amongst large banks. It was felicitated by MeitY, which is the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, at the Digital Payments Utsav, which was held to commemorate the 75th anniversary of Indian independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and Bank of Baroda has been conferred with 5 DigiDhan awards for FY 2019-20 and also FY 2020-2021 in various categories. Moving on to question number 76 now, talking about the report on trends and progress of banking in India 2020-2021, which was released by the RBI. So the gross non-performing assets or GNPAs ratio of your scheduled commercial banks declined from 8.2% at the end of March 2020 to 6.9% at the end September 2021. So if I look at this number, I think it is 6.9 to which the fall was. So I think this is incorrect. Now, the share of restructured advances has increased to 1.8% at the end of September 2021 from the 0.8% that was there at end March 2021 and 0.4% that was there at end March 2020. This also seems to be fine. The increase in deposit insurance from 1 lakh to 5 lakh rupees obviously augmented the share of your cooperative depositors coverage, which was earlier at 42.7% at the end of March 2019 to 69.4% at the end of March 2021. So this also seems to be fine. CBDC, central bank digital currency, will definitely look to provide a safe, robust and convenient alternative to physical cash. Definitely this has been discussed in the report. The consolidated balance sheet of your scheduled commercial banks expanded in size in 2020-2021 despite the COVID-19 pandemic and the resultant economic recession. Despite all of this, the balance sheet still did expand. So all of this is fine. So the only problem I have is the GNPAs, which I think basically fell down to 6.9% end of September 2021. Right, that's the correct answer. Moving on to question number 78. Who has inaugurated Odisha's longest bridge Cetu built over Mahanadi river at Gopinathpur, Cuttack district, Odisha? So this was not a googly, it's a straightforward answer. Naveen Patnaik happens to be the answer in this case. It's nothing complicated here. Moving on to question number 79. Who won the United Nations Women's Award for Leadership Commitment at the 2021 Regional APAC Women's Empowerment Principles Award Ceremony? So the winner here is Divya Hegde, and she is an Indian climate action entrepreneur from Udupi, coastal Karnataka. Right. Moving on to question number 80 now. The National Institution for Transforming India Niti Aayog has signed a Statement of Intent (SOI) with the United Nations World Food Programme for mainstreaming of millets and supporting India in taking lead globally in knowledge exchange using the opportunity of 2023 as the International Year of Millets. Right. So talking about the options here. India observed the year 2016 as the year of millets to encourage and promote millet production. I think it was a little later than that, and it was not 2016. Let's look at the answers anyway. The outcomes of the partnership between Niti Aayog and WFP will be achieved in 4 phases. This is also fine. The Statement of Intent focuses on strategic and technical collaboration between Niti Aayog and WFP in order to strengthen climate resilient agriculture for enhanced food and nutrition security in India. So I think this is also fine. So only problem I have is India observed, I think, the year 2018 as the year of millets, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that's the correct figure, and option 2 and 3 are indeed correct. So moving on to question number 81 now. On 22nd December 2021, India successfully test-fired the short-range surface-to-surface guided ballistic missile Pralay from the APJ Abdul Kalam Island off the coast of Odisha. Pralay is a 500 to 1000 kilometer short-range surface-to-surface missile with a payload capacity of 500 to 1000 kg. Again, it's a short-range missile. I don't think it can have such a large range, so I think this is wrong. The missile is powered by a solid propellant rocket motor with a state-of-the-art navigation system and integrated avionics, which can be launched from a mobile launcher. This seems to be fine. Pralay is a battlefield missile based on Prithvi Defense Vehicle from the Indian Ballistic Missile Program developed by DRDO. So I think this is also fine. The only problem I have with is option 1. I think short-range missiles cannot have this much range. So if I'm correct, the answer, yes, is option 2 and 3. Because Pralay is a 350 to 500 kilometer short-range surface-to-surface missile. Payload capacity is still 500 to 1000 kg. Right. Moving on to question number 82. Atal Innovation Mission AIM under the National Institution for Transforming India Niti Aayog has basically launched the first of its kind Vernacular Innovation Program (VIP) to empower entrepreneurs and innovators across India. So VIP will enable the innovators and entrepreneurs across India to have access to the innovation ecosystem in 22 scheduled languages of India and English. So this I think is fine. AIM will identify and train VTF, which is the Vernacular Task Force, in each of the scheduled languages to build the required capacity of the VIP. This is also fine. AIM Niti Aayog will collaborate with the Department of Design, Institute of Technology, Madras. I think it was not Madras, it was IIT Delhi, if I'm not mistaken, to coach the VTF in design thinking and entrepreneurship and the adaptation of these subjects. If I understand this correctly, this is the only incorrect option because you're looking at IIT Delhi as the partner in this case. Yes. And the task force will be trained over the period from December 2021 to April 2022. That's the whole context. Right. So moving on to the next question, number 83. Incorrect option with respect to National Mathematics Day. So National Mathematics Day is annually celebrated across India on 22nd December. I think this is fine. It is basically observed to mark the birth anniversary of renowned Indian mathematician Srinivasa Ramanujan. Yes, he was the first Indian to be elected as a fellow of Trinity College. Is also fine. The 2021 Sastra Ramanujan Prize was awarded to Shai Evra of Princeton. I don't think this is correct. So I think it was awarded to someone else. I don't remember the exact name, but it was definitely not Shai Evra. Now talking about Ramanujan's biography, the American biographer and science writer Robert Kanigal authored the biography of Ramanujan titled The Man Who Knew Infinity, A Life of the Genius Ramanujan. So this is also fine. I think option D is the incorrect option because it was awarded to Dr. Will Savin of Columbia University, USA. So this is basically an annual prize awarded for outstanding contributions by individuals not exceeding the age of 32 in the area of mathematics. So Sastra Ramanujan Prize is basically founded by Shanmuga Arts, Science, Technology and Research Academy Sastra, which is based out of Tanjavur, Tamil Nadu. So moving on to question number 84. Which of the following is the incorrect option with respect to the Global Unicorn Index 2021 as a report which was released by the Hurun Research Institute? India was ranked 4th. I don't think that's the case. India is, I think, 3rd right now. And yes, it has displaced United Kingdom for sure, but UK is, I think, ranked 4th and India is ranked 3rd. With 487, USA has definitely topped the ranking. This is fine. The report was released by Hurun Research Institute. In association was Guangzhou City, Commercial Bureau and Huangpu District. This is also fine. EdTech company Byju's is India's most valuable unicorn in India currently. That's also fine. 2021 is the most successful year in the history of unicorns, as Hurun Research found 1058 unicorns in the world, almost the double of 586 that was there in 2020. So this is also okay. I think the only option which needs to be corrected is option A, because we basically have US, which is at the number 1 spot, followed by China, and then you have India, UK, and that is the top 4 positions here. Moving on to the next question. Name the messaging application that has been launched by the Indian Army. So it is basically a Sigma, and it is going to be replacing AWAN, which is the Army Wide Area Network, which was being used in service for the past 15 years. So Sigma basically stands for Army Secure Indigenous Messaging Application. So that is the context here. Moving on to question number 86, talking about the 5th Siddha Day. In 2021, the Siddha Day falls on 22nd December 2021. The theme of the 5th Siddha Day is Strength of Siddha in Communicable Diseases. The celebration of the 5th edition of Siddha Day was jointly organized by CCRS, NIS, basically, and the Directorate of Indian Medicine and Homeopathy, the government of Tamil Nadu. So the only option where I have a problem in this case is that the Siddha Day does not fall on 22nd, but I think it is 23rd of December, which needs to be corrected. So only option 2 and 3 are correct. Yes, the day falls on 23rd of December, right? Moving on to the next question, 87. Talking about the Kisan Divas, or the National Farmers Day. This is basically observed across India on 23rd of December to commemorate the birth anniversary of Chaudhry Charan Singh. He was obviously the chief architect of land reforms in UP, and he also happened to be the 5th Prime Minister of India who served from 1979 to 1980. So all these statements are correct. So the option 1, 2 and 3 are indeed correct. Moving on to question number 88. Talking about the report titled 2019 Anti-Doping Rule Violations, ADRV's report. So the report has been published by the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA. India is basically ranked 4th among the dope violators in the world, with over 152 or 17% of the world's total ADRVs. And Russia tops the list with 167 ADRVs. Now, the only problem I have with this option 2, I think India's performance in terms of this is bad than this. So India is, I think, ranked 3rd, if I'm not mistaken, because if you look at the violations also, it's 152 ADRVs. So I think India is ranked 3rd overall, right? So that is the context here. Now moving on to the next question, number 89. Talking about which of the following advisory committee has or have been restructured by SEBI. SEBI basically restructured a lot of these committees. So yes, Secondary Market Advisory Committee of Mutual Funds, then basically Corporate Bonds and Securitization Advisory Committee. Then you talk about Information Systems Security Committee. All of these indeed were basically restructured by SEBI. So that's the answer in this case, right? So moving on to the next question, number 90. Talking about the recent project inaugurations by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his Varanasi parliamentary constituency of Uttar Pradesh. So he basically inaugurated or laid the foundation stones of 27 development projects worth 4,095 crore. I think the number is slightly on the lower side in this front is what I feel. He also inaugurated the first phase of the tourism development project related to Sri Guru Ravidas Ji Temple, Sri Govardhan, Varanasi. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also launched a portal and logo which was dedicated to the conformity assessment scheme of milk products developed by the Bureau of Indian Standards with the help of the National Dairy Development Board. He also distributed the Rural Residential Rights Record, Gharani, under the Swamitwa scheme of Union Ministry of Panchayati Raj to over 20 lakh residents of UP. This is also fine. 6 projects of the redevelopment of old Kashi wards, a parking and a surface park at Biniabag, beautification of 3 ponds, 1 sewage treatment plant at village Ramna, and provisioning of advanced surveillance cameras at 720 locations under the Smart City mission. So I think all of these are definitely correct. But the overall project outlay, I think, was not 4,000 crore. It was probably half of this amount is what I remember. Yeah, so the overall outlay here was 2,095 crores and not 4,095 crores, right? Moving on to question number 91. Talking about the Bharatiya Grahak Divas, or the National Consumer Day. So this is basically annually observed across India on 24th of December to create awareness about consumer rights and responsibilities. So the theme for the National Consumer Day 2021 was Consumer Know Your Rights. To promote and protect the rights of consumers, the Consumer Protection Act 1986 ensures 6 rights for consumers. I think all of these statements are correct. So this is the option here, which is the correct answer. Now moving on to question number 92. talking about the report titled Coal 2021 Analysis and Forecast for 2024 released by the International Energy Agency. So the overall global coal demand is expected to grow by 8% in 2021, with coal consumption to 7906 million tons, and is basically set to rise to 8025 million tons in 2022, the highest level ever. So I think here the problem is the rise is not 8%, but it is lower than that. I think 6% is the correct answer in this case. Now the global coal power generation is expected to increase by 9% in 2021. Now, as per the report, the global coal consumption and production are not in line with the trajectory that is to be achieved by 2024, which is basically the net zero by 2050 trajectory. So I think all of these are fine. The only option I have problem with is option 1, because the demand is expected to grow by 6 and not 8%, right? That's the correct answer in this case, right? So moving on to the next question, number 93. Center has basically appointed 2 subcommittees with separate groups of experts comprising officials from the center, key crop producing states, and top executives of the public sector insurance companies in order to lower the crop insurance premium under the PMFBI, which is the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So the subcommittees will submit their report by 10th of January 2022 in order to the working group, which was constituted in September 2021, which is fine. The first committee is basically a 10-member committee under scientist K.R. Manjunath of ISRO. The second committee is headed by Saurabh Mishra, Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Finance. This is also fine. Under PMFBY, the balance premium is basically split equally between the center and states after the farmers pay a fixed premium of 1.5% in terms of the sum insured in case of Rabi season, 2% in terms of Khari season, and 5% in terms of cash crop. So this is basically equally split between the center and states. So I think all of the above statements are correct. So the answer in this case is option E, right? So that's the context. Now moving on to the next question, number 94, talking about the Good Governance Day. So the Good Governance Week was celebrated from the 20th to the 25th of December 2021 as part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebration, with the motto of taking good administration down to the villages, which is why it is known as the Prashasan Gaon Ki Or. Right now, it's an annually observed day across India on 25th of December in order to commemorate the birth anniversary of Bharat Ratna Atal Bihari Vajpayee. The first ever Good Governance Day was observed on December 25th, 2015. I think it was started in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Atal Bihari Vajpayee obviously served as the Prime Minister of India for 3 terms. So the first one was from 16th of May to 1st June 1996. Second term was from March 1998 to April 1999. Then a full term from March 1998 to May 2004. So the context here is only option D is incorrect because it was started in 2014 and not in 2015. So that's the correct answer in this case, right? So moving on to question number 95. With regards to the CEBR World Economic League Table report, right? So basically this is the Center for Economics and Business Research, which is a UK based agency. Now here, India was predicted to become the 6th largest economy by overtaking France in 2022 and become the 3rd largest economy by 2026. So I think it's too short a period. India cannot achieve that by such a short time. The annual league table also predicted that China will overtake the US in order to become the largest economy by 2030, 2 years later than the forecast that was made in 2021. So in 2021, CEBR said that China will overtake US in 2028, but now they're saying that it will overtake in 2030. Now, the world economy is set to surpass $100 trillion for the first time in 2022. This is also correct. The World Economic League Table 2022 shows the economic forecast for 191 countries up to the time period 2036. This is also fine. In 2021, India had a purchasing power parity adjusted GDP per capita of $7314, classifying it as a lower middle income country. So when I talk about the economy level, India is expected to overtake France to become the 6th largest in 2022. That's correct. But it will become the 3rd largest by 2031. And as per the prediction, it will continue to be the 3rd largest in 2036 also. And by that time, of course, China would have become the largest, with US being the 2nd and India being the 3rd, right? So 2031 is the year when India is expected to breach the 3rd largest economy position, right? Moving on to question number 96. Which of the options is incorrect with regards to NASA's James Webb Space Telescope? So it is an infrared telescope. Yes, it was launched through the Ariane Space Heavy Lift Ariane 5 rocket from the European Space Agency's spaceport Untitled, French Guiana on South America's northeast coast. Is also fine. The telescope is an international collaboration between NASA in partnership with the European Space Agency, the Canadian Space Agency, I don't think Japan was involved in this. It's projected at an estimate price of $9.66 billion. The mission span is between 5 to 15 years. I think all of these are correct. I think Japan is not involved. That's the only mistake in this one. Right, so it's basically between NASA, European Space Agency, and the Canadian Space Agency. That's the context, right? Moving on to question number 97. So here we're talking about Good Governance Index 2020-2021 as part of the Good Governance Week. So GGI 2021. So context is that it has been released by the Union Minister of Home Affairs and Minister of Cooperation, Amit Shah. This is fine. So GGI is a framework that was introduced by the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances, DARPG, in 2019 in order to measure the quality of governance across the states and the union territories. This is also fine. The GGI 2019 encompassed 10 governance sectors and 50 governance indicators. Talking about GGI 2020-21, the same 10 governance sectors are retained while the indicators have been revised to 58 from 50. This is also fine. Maharashtra has topped the composite ranking in the GGI. I'm not so sure about this one. I think it is Gujarat. Delhi topped the list among UTs. This is fine. So if I look at the answer in this case, it is Gujarat indeed which has topped the list, followed by Maharashtra and Goa. Moving on to question number 98. Talking about the 4th edition of Niti Aayog's State Health Index for 2019-20, which was released in the report titled Healthy States, Progressive India. So report has been prepared by Niti Aayog with technical assistance from, I don't think it was WHO, it was World Bank if I'm not mistaken, along with consultation with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. This edition basically measured and highlighted the overall performance and incremental improvement of the states and union territories in health outcomes as well as the overall status over the period 2018-19 to 2019-20. So the weighted composite index is basically having 24 indicators grouped under the domains of health outcomes, governance and information, and then key inputs and process. All of this is fine. For the 4th consecutive time, Kerala emerged as the best performer in terms of overall performance. I think this is fine. In terms of the smaller states, Mizoram emerged as the top performing state. I think this is also fine. So I think the collaboration was between MOHFW, Niti Aayog and World Bank if I'm not mistaken, and that's the correct answer in this case. Now technically in terms of the validation agency, IPE Global Private Limited was the independent validating agency in this context, right? So moving on to the next question, number 99, talking about the government of Jammu and Kashmir. It hosted the first ever J&K Real Estate Summit 2021, Unlocking Opportunities, at the Convention Center, Jammu, J&K. The summit was basically organized by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Government of J&K, in collaboration with Mahua, Government of India. The Lieutenant Governor Jammu and Kashmir Manoj Sinha has e-launched the Auction of Assets portal, Affordable Rental Housing Complexes Schemes at Sunjwan, Jammu, J&K RERA portal, Housing Schemes, and the J&K Housing Mission portal during the summit. So I think all these launches are fine, but I don't think it was the Lieutenant Governor of J&K Manoj Sinha, but it was someone else. The government of Jammu and Kashmir has indeed signed as many as 39 memorandums of understanding worth 18,300 crore rupees with the real estate organizations and a major fast food chain as well. So the answer in this case has to be that option 2 is incorrect because it is Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri who has e-launched all of these portals that were there basically. So that's the context. So Hardeep Singh Puri was the one and not Manoj Sinha. That's the context. Moving on to the last question for the day. International Day of Epidemic Preparedness is basically observed on 27th of December. So 27th of December 2021 marks the observance of the second International Day of Epidemic Preparedness in light of the COVID-19 situation. Right, so that brings us to the end of the 100 questions for the month of December 2021. Right, so that brings us to the end of this session. I hope you enjoyed this session as much as I enjoyed creating this session for you. A lot of new items covered from the perspective of December. I'm sure it would have made you feel a lot more confident about your reading. Most important thing in life is, आज जो है ना, आज गिफ्ट है हमारे हाथ में. इसको यूटिलाइज करना है अच्छे से, इसको वेस्ट नहीं करना है. पीछे क्या हुआ, पास्ट में क्या हुआ, नहीं सोचना है. फ्यूचर में क्या होने वाला है, नहीं सोचना है. आज का दिन जीना है और अच्छे से जीना है. We've got to live this day to our fullest. Enjoy every single moment of your life, be it the trials and the tribulations, be it the success, because today at the end of the day is a present that has been given to you. Forget about the past. Don't think about the future. Today is the moment that you need to live. If you live that way, putting in the best possible effort, best possible focus on today, then trust me, you will receive all the accolades, all the results that you've always desired. Success आपको मिलेगी, आप achieve कर पाओगे success को, अगर आप आज पे focus करें, ना कि जो बीता हुआ है कल उसके ऊपर, ना कि जो आने वाला कल है उसके ऊपर, जो प्रेजेंट है उस पर अगर आप फोकस करेंगे तो यू विल ऑलवेज अचीव फैंटास्टिक रिजल्ट्स. ऑन दैट नोट, दिस इज रवि साइनिंग ऑफ for the last time in 2021. I look forward to seeing you in 2022, a lot more charged up, a lot more fresh, and wishing each and every one of you a fabulous 2022. So this is Ravi signing off. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend ahead. See you guys.